Welcome back to the deep dive. You know those mornings when your brain just feels like it needs a serious kickstart?
Like it's stuck in first gear.
Yeah, exactly. Well, today we're going deep on a technique literally called refreshing the brain.
Catchy title, right?
It is. And it's from this book, Pure Consciousness Taking on the Way Inside. So we're going to be talking about how to kind of reboot your mind. What do you think?
Sounds refreshing. And I think a lot of us can relate to that feeling of mental fatigue, especially, in the mornings or after a long day.
Absolutely. So this chapter is all about giving your mind a conscious reboot. So where do we even begin?
Well, the source starts with this pretty bold idea that you can actually influence your nervous system just by thinking about it, like particularly in the brain.
Okay, wait, so you're saying we can just will our brains to have more energy?
It's not quite like telekinesis or anything like that, but the source really emphasizes the mind-body connection. Like, we may not fully understand exactly how it works, but our thoughts and intentions can have a real impact on how we feel mentally.
So kind of like a placebo effect, but for brain power.
Yeah, you could think of it that way. And a big part of this technique is visualization. The source suggests picturing your brain as the sphere, any color you want, filling up your whole head.
I love that it's personalized. So
Yeah.
I could imagine mine as a giant glowing orange or something.
Absolutely, yeah. Whatever works for you. The author actually visualizes theirs as a sparkling, like sky blue with some hints of white. They even suggest extending that visualization to your whole nervous system. So your brain, your spine, all the nerves, the whole network. It's like creating a mental map of your inner self.
That's pretty detailed.
Yeah.
But we're not just staring at a static image in our minds.
Or-
What's the next step?
The source talks about imagining subtle movements within that sphere. Like you could picture shifts in the shades of color, or imagine it flowing like liquid, kind of representing the activity and energy inside your brain.
So it's about bringing that mental image to life. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Is there anything else to this visualization technique?
This is where it gets really interesting. The source says to try and incorporate emotions into the visualization. Like, imagine feeling this sense of awe and gratitude for the complexity of your brain and all the incredible work it does.
So appreciating those billions of neurons firing away in there, even if we don't always realize it.
Exactly. The idea is that by combining focused visualization with the belief that you can influence your brain and then layering in some positive emotions, you can actually refresh your mental state, leading to more clarity and energy.
So it's not just a mental picture, it's about shifting your whole mindset, actually feeling that potential for change.
Yeah, exactly. It's about tapping into the power of your own mind to overcome that brain fog and start your day with a renewed sense of focus.
That sounds pretty powerful.
Mm-hmm.
But is there any actual evidence that this works, or is it more of a feel-good exercise?
Well, the source doesn't get into any scientific studies or anything, but it does align with this growing understanding of the mind-body connection. There's more and more research showing how our thoughts and beliefs can have a measurable impact on our physical well-being.
So even though refreshing the brain might seem kind of unusual at first, it's rooted in the idea that we might have more control over our mental state than we think.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing the power of our own minds to shape our experiences.
I'm definitely going to give this a try next time I'm feeling mentally drained. It's like giving your brain a gentle nudge to wake up and say, hey, let's start this day fresh.
Exactly. And what's even more fascinating is that this concept of using our minds to influence our well-being, it goes even deeper than just boosting energy levels.
Really? Tell me more.
This idea of intentionally changing how we feel mentally, it kind of connects to this bigger concept from the source. It's called consciousness beyond thought.
Whoa, okay, now we're getting deep. What exactly does that even mean?
It's about tapping into a level of awareness that goes beyond just like the everyday chatter in our minds. The source describes it as the eye that can see everything in our inner world, and also white fire from emptiness.
Okay, those are some seriously vivid descriptions. But I gotta be honest, it still sounds pretty abstract to me. How do we actually reach this consciousness beyond thought?
The source suggests a practice that's actually pretty simple, at least in theory. It's about becoming aware of your thoughts as they pop up, but without engaging with them or judging them, just noticing them.
So not necessarily stopping our thoughts completely, but more like observing them from a distance.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, imagine watching clouds drift by in the sky. You notice them, but you don't get caught up in them. You just observe.
Okay, I can see how that could lead to a quieter mind. But is this something you could just decide to do? Or does it take practice?
The source emphasizes that it's definitely a skill that you develop over time, kind of like building a muscle. The more you practice observing your thoughts without getting carried away by them, the stronger this ability gets.
So you're essentially creating a gap between your awareness and that constant stream of thoughts. What happens in that space?
According to the source, that space is where real clarity and insight live. It's a place of peace and stillness that's always available to us once we figure out how to quiet the mental chatter.
That makes sense. It's like when you're so absorbed in doing something that you completely lose track of time. Your mind is focused, but also really calm and present. Is that kind of what we're talking about here?
That's a perfect example. That state of flow, that's like a glimpse into this consciousness beyond thoughts. And the source suggests that by cultivating this state, we can get a much deeper understanding of ourselves and the world.
It sounds like this idea of consciousness beyond thought ties in really closely with the refreshing the brain technique we talked about earlier. They both seem to be about shifting our mental state to get more clarity and focus.
You got it. The source actually emphasizes that these practices work together. Refreshing the brain helps to clear out the mental fog and create space in the mind, which then makes it easier to access that deeper level of awareness that exists beyond thought.
Oh, I see. So they're like complementary techniques working together to boost our mental well-being.
Exactly. And the best part is these techniques are available to anyone, no matter what their background or beliefs are. It's really just about putting in the time and effort to understand our own minds better.
This has been really insightful. I'm starting to see how these techniques, which seem pretty simple on the surface, can have a big impact on our well-being overall. But I know the book goes even deeper than this, right? Pure consciousness taking on the way inside also talks about the mind-body connection.
Oh, absolutely. The source dives into how our physical state can affect our mental and emotional well-being, and vice versa.
So it's all about recognizing that our minds and bodies aren't separate, they're all connected.
Precisely. And this connection plays a huge role in achieving that lasting mental clarity and energy we're looking for. It builds on the foundation of refreshing the brain and cultivating consciousness beyond thought.
It all makes sense when you put it that way. What specific insights does the source give about this mind-body connection?
Well, for one thing, it stresses how important it is to take care of your body through things like good nutrition, exercise, and rest.
Those are definitely important for overall health. But how do they relate to mental clarity and energy specifically?
The source says that when we nourish our bodies with healthy foods, move our bodies regularly, and get enough sleep, we're creating the perfect environment for our minds to flourish.
So it's about giving our brains the physical foundation they need to be clear and energized. Makes sense. Is there anything else the source mentions about the mind-body connection?
Yeah, it goes beyond those basic lifestyle things and talks about how important posture and body position are during meditation or when you're exploring your inner self.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What does posture have to do with it?
The source suggests that if you have good skeletal alignment and sit upright, it can actually help energy flow more freely throughout your body. And that, in turn, helps with mental clarity and focus.
So it's not just about sitting up straight to avoid back problems. It's actually about setting up your body to help your mind.
Exactly. The source even gives specific advice about how to position your body during meditation to optimize your energy flow and mental clarity. Like, it emphasizes sitting with your spine straight, shoulders relaxed, and chin slightly tucked.
These are all things we can adjust, like we're fine-tuning our bodies to help our minds perform better.
I like that fine-tuning. And what's really fascinating is the source also explores how skeletal alignment and emotional well-being are linked.
Oh, really? Tell me more about that. How are our skeletons connected to our emotions?
The source suggests that if our skeletons are out of alignment, it can contribute to muscle tension, restricted movement, and even emotional blockages.
Wow, I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, it's a perspective that highlights how interconnected our physical, mental, and emotional states really are. The source emphasizes gentle, mindful movement to release tension, improve posture, and ultimately create a sense of well-being that encompasses all of who we are.
It's like a holistic approach to well-being, recognizing that everything's connected.
Precisely. And this holistic approach, with techniques like refreshing the brain, cultivating consciousness beyond thought, and taking care of your body, it all forms the foundation for a really transformative journey of self-discovery and growth.
This is incredible. We've covered so much ground. From refreshing the brain to exploring consciousness and the mind-body connection. I can't wait to see what else the source has to offer.
Well, there's one last chapter in Pure Consciousness Taking on the Way Inside that I think deserves our attention. It's about the concept of complete trust in reality, surrendering to this infinite and all-pervasive consciousness.
That sounds pretty profound. What does it mean to completely trust reality?
It's about accepting everything that comes up in our lives, both the good and the bad, without resisting or judging it.
That sounds a lot easier said than done. We're kind of wired to avoid pain and seek pleasure.
Oh, you're absolutely right. It's not an easy concept to understand, let alone actually do. But the source suggests that when we let go of our need to control everything and surrender to this greater force that guides everything, that's when we open ourselves up to a deeper level of peace and acceptance.
It's like taking a leap of faith and trusting that even the tough stuff is part of a bigger plan.
Exactly. And the source acknowledges that suffering is just part of being human. It doesn't shy away from talking about even the darkest emotions, like despair and the possibility of suicide.
That's important. It's acknowledging the reality of human suffering without offering some easy solution or dismissing the pain people experience.
Exactly. The source approaches suffering with compassion and understanding. It recognizes that it's a natural part of life. But it also emphasizes that there's always a way up, a path towards healing and growth, even in our darkest moments.
And that's where trusting in reality or surrendering to this universal consciousness comes in.
Exactly. The source suggests that when we can fully embrace reality as it is, even the painful parts, we open ourselves up to a deeper level of trust and peace. It's about letting go of that need to control everything and surrendering to a larger force that's guiding everything.
It sounds like a radical shift in perspective, from resisting reality to embracing it completely. How do we actually cultivate this level of trust and surrender?
Well, the source offers a number of practices and insights to help us along the way. For example, it encourages us to cultivate a sense of gratitude for all that we have, even when things are tough.
Yeah, that makes sense. Focusing on what we're grateful for can shift our perspective and help us appreciate the good things, even amidst challenges.
Exactly. The source also emphasizes the importance of mindfulness, paying attention to the present moment without judging it.
We talked about mindfulness before when we were discussing observing our thoughts. How does that tie in with trusting reality?
When we're mindful, we're more aware of our thoughts, feelings, and sensations as they happen without getting swept away by them. This awareness can help us see that everything is temporary, including our suffering.
So, recognizing that nothing lasts forever, even the tough times.
Precisely. And when we see that everything is constantly changing, it helps us let go of our attachments and surrender to the flow of life.
It's all coming together now. The techniques we've been talking about, refreshing the brain, cultivating consciousness beyond thought, taking care of the body, they all seem to be connected pieces of a larger puzzle. They all lead to a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the world.
You've got it. Pure consciousness, taking on the way inside, offers this holistic approach to personal growth and well-being. It stresses that all aspects of ourselves are interconnected and influence each other.
It's amazing how these seemingly different concepts all weave together to create a roadmap for dealing with life's challenges and finding a deeper sense of peace and fulfillment.
Absolutely. And what's even cooler is that the source doesn't present this as some rigid set of rules to follow blindly.
So it's not about forcing ourselves to believe a certain way.
Exactly. The source wants readers to explore these concepts for themselves and come to their own conclusions. It's an invitation to go on a journey of self-discovery, to explore our own consciousness and the mysteries of the universe.
It's about trusting our own inner wisdom and finding our own path to inner peace and fulfillment. This conversation has been eye-opening. I feel like I'm seeing the world in a whole new light.
I'm so glad to hear that. And, I think the message of this source is both timely and timeless. In a world that can feel chaotic and overwhelming, it reminds us that we all have the power to find inner peace, joy, and a deep connection to ourselves and the world around us.
And that's a message we all need to hear. So as we wrap up this episode, what are some key takeaways our listeners can apply to their own lives?
Well, I think the source offers a ton of practical techniques and thought-provoking ideas, from refreshing the brain to accessing consciousness beyond thought, taking care of the body, and cultivating happiness. It's a reminder that we have the power to make our lives more meaningful and fulfilling.
Absolutely. It's about using the power of our minds, bodies, and spirits to reach our full potential.
Precisely. And maybe the most important takeaway is the message of trust. Trust in reality, trust in the process, and trust in your own inner wisdom and ability to create a life that truly reflects your deepest values and desires.
It's about embracing the journey with all its challenges and triumphs, knowing that we have what it takes to navigate whatever comes our way.
And that's a powerful message to carry with us as we continue our own deep dives into the mysteries of life.
It definitely is. Until next time, keep diving deep. It's amazing how these ideas all connect back to that idea of refreshing the brain and really taking control of our mental state.
Yeah, it really highlights how everything's connected when it comes to well-being. How taking care of our minds and bodies and even just our outlook can all work together.
As we've been talking, I've been thinking about how these techniques seem pretty accessible.
Yeah.
You don't need special equipment or training or anything to try them out.
That's one of the things that stood out to me too about the source. It's really about empowering people to use what they already have, their imagination, their awareness, their ability to make choices.
Exactly. So for our listeners who are feeling inspired to try refreshing the brain or explore some of these other concepts, what would be a good first step?
I'd say just start with simple awareness. Taking a few minutes every day to just observe your thoughts and feelings without judging them. Notice how your body feels, your posture, your breath. That foundation of awareness can really open up a lot of possibilities for deeper exploration and understanding.
That's a great starting point.
Mm.
And it really fits with the overall message of this deep dive, that we all have the power to create a more meaningful and fulfilling life just by tapping into what's already inside us.
Absolutely. And remember, everyone's journey is unique. The source encourages us to trust our own intuition and find what works best for us. There's no one right way to do this.
That's so important to remember. We're not all going to have the same experiences or find the same things helpful. It's about finding what resonates with you and using those tools to make positive changes.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that this is a journey, not a destination. There are going to be ups and downs, moments of clarity and moments of confusion. The key is to approach it all with curiosity and compassion for ourselves and others.
That's a great way to put it. This has been such an enlightening conversation. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into pure consciousness taking on the way inside.
The pleasure was all mine. It's always inspiring to explore these ideas and share them with others.
And for our listeners, keep diving deep into your own inner world and the incredible potential that's within each of you. Until next time, keep exploring.